Tom, do you think we should put money, public money, to save Just for Laughs?
No. Next question.
Okay.
No, we've been there, done that. I mean, we put so much public money into this stuff, and it was sold to Bell, Evenco, and an American outfit that's changed hands again, and so forth. And it's basically a split. The Americans have half, and the other two have a quarter. I'm sorry, it's not working, and I would really, really, really love to see something go on this summer, but it's just not going to happen. I mean, at some point, you've got to stop taking taxpayers' money to give to private companies so that they can put on a free show for taxpayers. So let's see if the Just for Laughs Festival and the Montreal moniker that goes with it can rise from the ashes. It has put. Everybody talks about the Grand Prix as the premier event. We've also got the Jazz Festival and Nuit d'Afrique and a whole bunch of others. Sure. But I have to agree that the Just for Laughs is the one that comes back more and more often. You'll be listening to an interview with two American comics, completely in a different place, and they'll say, "Yeah, but I made it to Montreal last summer, and it really worked, and it really helped my career." So the Montreal comedy scene is a really big deal, and I'm really devastated to see this thing falling apart. But ever since Gilbert Rozon went through his court cases and all that he was accused of, and the thing was sold, and he's apparently owed another $15 million. Good luck collecting that. So yeah, I think that it's a gong show. It's not something we wanted to see. But the short answer to your question is no. Please don't give them any more public money.
Fair enough. Moving on, we have another Nanos poll that's out. We're talking about it with James Benny. None of the above seems to be gaining a lot of support across the country.
Yeah, and it tends to reinforce something that I felt for some time as I've been watching these polls, because it's not true that the Liberal brand is that much in free fall. It's just that Justin Trudeau, the magic has worn off. The carriage has turned into a pumpkin. It's after midnight. It's just like you're past your due date. And Justin Trudeau is immune to hints on that. He's not going to be pushed out. His party's not going to organize a putsch, although there have been more and more voices saying, you really should consider this your legacy mandate. This should be your last kick at the can. But he seems to, my thinking now is that, first of all, he's going to see how it goes the rest of this spring session. He'll probably pull a Chrétien, which was, remember when Jean Chrétien was getting stabbed in the back with great regularity by Paul Martin and his crew, and he decided to announce he was stepping down, but he said it quite far in the future. So he stayed prime minister, got a bunch of legislation through, did a few dirty tricks to Paul Martin, setting it up so that corporations could no longer donate to the Liberal Party, that sort of thing, and then handed the reins over to Paul Martin, who promptly ran it into a wall. So maybe Trudeau is keen on having 2015-2025, because don't forget, he got elected right at the end of 2015. His government was sworn in November of that year. So if he can manage to dribble over the finish line into 2025 somehow, I guess he's fighting to get that plaque under his name with those two dates, an apparent decade apart, although they wouldn't actually be.
So I'm going to ask you to look into your crystal ball now. And do you think there's actually a real working scenario for Justin Trudeau leaving the leadership before the election? Right now in the U.S., a lot of Democrats are hoping for a surprise during the Democratic convention in July, where a Gavin Newsom or somebody else, some savior
or a total meltdown at tonight's State of the Union.
Exactly.
Like that,
Exactly. So do you see something like that happening with the Liberals in Canada?
Trudeau's in his 50s still. He's got another career ahead of him. He can look forward to being put on the board of directors of some of the world's most important companies. He's got a Rolodex that anybody at any board of directors would die to have. He can pick up the phone and call anybody on the planet. And his value on the open market is going to start tumbling if he sticks around and gets pummeled in the next election. And he knows that. He's not a wealthy man. I mean, he sure inherited a fair bit of dough from his dad, but, he's had jobs. It doesn't pay a lot to be the Prime Minister of Canada. So I have a feeling that Justin Trudeau is going to be keeping an eye on that as well. And is there a scenario? Yeah, I do think that he's going to do everything he can, David. You and I both know that there are 5 parties in the House of Commons. The Liberals, the Conservatives, the Bloc, the NDP, and the Greens. Of the 5 parties I've just named, the only party that's never had a woman leader is the Liberal Party of Canada. And they always boast and they poise and they take their selfies of themselves as great feminists, but they're the only party that's never had a woman leader. So I can see Trudeau doing everything he can to try to get Chrystia Freeland elected. He owes her a lot. She's not a very good politician. No. She's an absolutely outstanding finance minister. She is a great administrator, but she has just about the lowest communication skills I have ever seen of anybody at that level in politics. It's just a disaster. So I can't see her ever winning. The person who I do think would win is Mark Carney, and Carney would actually give them a fighting chance against Poilievre, because I could just imagine Poilievre trying to lecture Mark Carney on the economy. That would be worth the price of admission.
Yeah, remember, I know you bring that up regularly about Poilievre. Imagine Poilievre having to defend his Bitcoin statement to Mark Carney.
That's a great point, though, that you're making, because we're looking at the numbers right now for Trudeau, which are just so abysmal. But as I say, I don't believe that the Liberal numbers are that low. I think the Canadians are just trying to communicate, Justin, you've had a good run. Please leave. And it's almost without malice. It's just like you're done.
You're done.
It's not your turn anymore.
Let's move on to the OQLF. Yet again, we have a study. It's the end of the world for the French language in Quebec.
Well, this is hilarious because I deal, as you know, I work a lot on the French side, and people were setting their hair on fire because they found a 6-week-old, very factual thing, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, about Bill 96 and what it does to signage. And it was, this is humiliating to Quebec. You're laughing at us. And I had to tell my colleagues, no, they're not laughing at Quebecers. No. They're showing what is actually written in the regulations under Bill 96, and it is absurd. So the absurdity they're attacking is not Quebec or Quebec policy. It's Bill 96 and what they've wrought at the CAC. So they're trying to defend everything. So here we've got something absolutely predictable in terms of the analysis here. Okay, this is so weak. If this was a second-year university student, you'd give this a C- because they look at numbers and they compare things that have nothing in common. So they're saying, oh, look at this. Oh, we still have 90% of the time people use French in their jobs. Okay, it's always stated this. But look, we found something here. No, look at this. Look at this. The proportion of Quebecers using French only at work has fallen from 39% to 32%. Yeah, that might have something to do with the world becoming smaller as you communicate across boundaries much easier with your clients in other places. And you might have to use English because that's the lingua franca of the world that we're living in today. But no. This is, as you say, this is going to be a thing. The favorite number, maybe Legault will replace his favorite number with this one. That'll become his new favorite number. His favorite number up until today has been, look, more and more people are speaking a language other than French at home. That would be people who have a mother tongue other than English, and that's their business and not yours, because they all speak French at work and they speak French when they walk into a store, and that is something the government can keep an eye on to make sure we want to promote and protect French. That's fine. But don't tell me that you're going to have the government come into people's homes and try to tell them what language or what. I actually get this on the air sometimes on the French side. You know that they watch television shows from their home country via satellite when they're here in Quebec, and so like, what business is that of yours? But it's Quebec after all.
It is Quebec after all. Do you get the sense, and we've seen this with past Parti Québécois governments, there's a point where a lot of francophones, even outside Montreal, in the deep regions, that say, enough with this, take care of the real issues. Do you get the sense this is happening?
I live in one of those deep
Yes,
regions.
you do.
And people care more about what's going on, whether they've got a decent job, whether there's a place in the child care center, whether their schools are full of mold, whether they can actually be seen at a hospital in a decent time if they're in an emergency situation. That's what people care about. And by the way, you go around the province, no matter where you are. It's very funny because, if you're in St. Adèle, there's a great new sports center up there. You hear everything's going to be in French, but you'll hear individuals talking English all the time. And there is a large English-speaking population spread out across the province, but more integrated and more capable of working and more fluent in French than at any time in history. And that's also borne out by the statistics. But that would be good news on the language front. But of course, that means they'll never talk about that.